And good Thursday evening from beautiful Waynesville, North Carolina, and just as beautiful Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Good evening, Chuck.
Good evening.
This is David and Chuck from the David and Chuck Show, Mr. Fibernetz and Mr. Crompton. And I've changed locations again, Chuck, before we get going. You want to know what
hot.
I'm doing?
It was hot today.
It was hot.
I don't know about high elevation, but down here, it felt over 100. Heat index 100 degrees.
Yep, it's smoking, crazy. But real quickly, before we start talking about, we got some really big news for Tuscola fans tonight. But before we get into that, I'm gonna add my phone to the screen. If you hear a little reverb, I'll turn it down. But if you see behind me, if you can barely see behind me, you see some smoke. And that is my beloved Rectech smoker. And I'm going to add this here right quick. I'm going to add my other place to the stage. And just real quick, Chuck, we're going to tailgate tomorrow. And right here, it's been on just since 7 o'clock. It'll be on until about 10 tomorrow. 20 pounds of prime pork butt. It's got 4 special rubs on it. I'm not going to tell you about because I'm going to be secretive. We're going to do it at 225 degrees for about 14 hours. And we're going to have a big tailgate down here tomorrow. Don't worry about it. If it rains, we got tents. Don't worry about it. We're going to be down here to hopefully start eating around 10:30 more likely. I know that some certain football coaches are going to sneak down here tomorrow and eat some food. Come on, folks. If we run out of food, I'll go to Burger King and buy you a hamburger. But we're going to have a ton of food, have a ton of fun before we take off and go over to CE Weatherby and see a great football game between two of the most storied programs in our state. Because Chuck, one of the things that a lot of folks, they go back and they talk about from 1966 forward with Tuscola. But before Tuscola was a separate entity, it was Waynesville Township High School. And that's the same team, the same program, just like the St. Louis Browns and the Baltimore Orioles. And that history goes back into the early 1900s. So, two of the Swain and Tuscola, just a great matchup with great tradition and great history at CE Weatherby. Kickoff is at 7:30.
It's going to be big. What's the weather going to be like?
Going to have a little bit of rain during the day. It's supposed to let up, and it might be 20. It says like 25%. I've got it on the front page of our Tuscola Football Network. It's on there, the forecast for tomorrow. But it's not going to be 100 degrees, so that's going to be a plus. A little bit of rain's not going to hurt.
A little bit of rain that will let up or stop before kickoff?
Maybe 25% chance during the game, early in the game. But it is what it is. You got to, both teams are going to be in it. You got to play in it. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's go. That's what I think. But again, that's just me.
There you go.
And it's starting to rain right now, if you can hear the raindrops above me. But just got some news, Chuck, before we get into talking about the conference. Kind of cool news. The state rankings came out of the national rankings, and then they broke it down by state. And the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback in the state of North Carolina is Jed West here at Tuscola. That's pretty awesome for the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback in the state. So that and you see it every time you see him play. It's pretty awesome to see what he's able to do, and he's done on basically not a ton of practice time with these kids and not a ton of time in this offense. Let me get Chuck back here real quick, folks. He's kind of slipped away from us, and you don't see what I see right now as I keep talking to you, but I'm having to go back and send him another email. And there he is. Let me add him back to the story here. Chuck, you left us, bud.
Yeah, cardiologist
You left.
called me. I don't want to talk to him, so I just hung up. And when I hung up, it took me off the show and everything. I don't want to talk to the cardiologist. I want to talk football.
Yeah. So I think for me, if you can talk about Jed being the number one rated dual threat quarterback in the state for a minute, I'm going to take my computer and my iPad and my other devices. I'm going to go back inside because it's raining so hard on top of this tent that I can't hear you. Is that good? You good with that?
Right.
Okay.
Good. Well, it's a huge thing for Jed West because, and it's a huge thing for the team, and I'll explain why. Is that kid's dream is to go off and play college. If that is your dream, have an opportunity. Don't know what level, but when Jed West is rated as the number one dual threat quarterback in the state of North Carolina, there's going to be a lot of schools that are going to, watch him on film. Guess who else is on film? That would be his teammates. So if you're looking with the Friday night lights on and the cameras go on and they're recording everything, yes, they look at Jed West, but at the same time is that you will have coaches in meetings, because David and I were privy to that down at Western Carolina one time, where they just put on a film and all of a sudden they started looking at other players. Who's that guy? And all of a sudden, if you want an opportunity to be seen, Mr. West, the young Mr. West, is providing you an opportunity. While they're looking at him, they're looking at all people on the screen, even the opponents that you play. So every game they want, if they want all his games throughout the rest of this season and the 3 games that he's already played, you're on that film. You're on that film.
Absolutely.
So opportunity to say you can't. Yeah, look, Mr. West is providing every one of his teammates an opportunity to say, who is that guy? Who's that lineman blocking? Who's that defensive tackle? And they'll call up Coach Crompton and they'll say, okay, we like West. We really can move from this direction, but we got a few players we looked and thought, man. So they're going to ask size, grades, and all that other stuff. Hopefully you guys are ready for that.
Absolutely. And that's well said, because, I didn't think, I knew about it, but I probably wasn't going to talk about it tonight because basically I forgot. So that's really well said, Chuck. Really, really well said.
Well, I mean, that's just that's a fact of life, because they're always looking for the diamond in the rough. They're not looking. See, David and I were privy one time to a coach down at Western Carolina, and all these recruiting guys, these guys that have these agencies for recruiting.
Yes.
They send out letters, and the coaches all over the country take those and file them away. 1, they're not coming from your head coach. 2 is that there's no communication. They want to call their head coach and want to know, why are you not sending information to this? So bottom line is they're going to make a phone call and they're going to want, is he really 6'3", 305 pounds? Is he really 6'4", 190? Those type of things. He looks tall, catches the hands great, runs the football well, tackles well, pursues the football. So anyhow, I will tell you that in a highlight reel, once I sent a film to Vanderbilt on a young man that not one school in North Carolina, Division II, Division III, anybody was looking at. And when he got to the film to Vanderbilt, Bull Reese, their defensive coordinator under Jerry DiNardo, Orchard Coffee, looked 4 plays and said, this kid can play. And they eventually ended up offering him a full scholarship to an SEC program. And he played 4 years and was captain his junior and senior year. He belonged in the SEC. So recruiting is not an exact science, but if you want to be found, they don't care. The words what David and I heard from this coach was, "We don't care what star you got because that's somebody else giving you that
Yeah,
star.
that's bullcrap.
Want to look at you and if we like you, we're going to recruit you."
That's right. Sorry about that.
That's right.
The rain just messed the rain. I didn't mind sitting in the rain, but it was so loud I could not hear, and I don't know if everybody all they heard was raindrops.
Right.
So with Jed, just got to keep working. And the thing that let me take a sip of my orchard coffee.
Yeah.
The,
Tuesday, Thursdays. I save mine for Friday, and Friday game day, high school game day, and Saturday high school or college game day. I'm telling you what, that's some smooth coffee right there. I'm jealous right now.
That's right. 39 Depot Street, Waynesville, North Carolina. OrchardCoffeeRoasters.com. Really good people. And we're working on some gift certificates. Somebody might get some free coffee out of this. So anyway, what people don't realize, and then we'll start, we're going to get back and talk about all the games and college and some baseball and all that good stuff. But with Jed, people don't realize now you got to dig, you got to work harder, because I promise you, there's somebody out there that sees that and goes, well, they're wrong, and I'm going to go prove them wrong. I mean, if and that's, for the ratings things are a motivator. I mean, can I tell a story, Chuck, that about
Sure.
You are the only one that knows because you were there?
Yeah.
And when Jonathan when the ratings first came out, when he was a junior, and they put him as a 4-star, and then you moved here that summer. Remember, when you moved here,
Right.
and you guys met and you guys clicked immediately, and he was going to get on a plane and fly out to the Elite 11. And back then, the Elite 11 was truly the Elite 11. That was, it wasn't all this stuff they have now. They took there was only 11. And before he got on that plane, he said, I'm better than those guys. And there's like 3 of them that are rated 5 stars. And I'm going to go show them. He was angry. And he went out there and he came home. And before his plane landed here, they made him a 5-star. So when I say with Jed, there's kids that see what they saw today, the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback in the state of North Carolina. They're going to go to work, and they're going to try to prove these people wrong. But I haven't been around Jed a lot, Chuck. But I know this much, and when I am around him, he's not going to let anybody outwork him. He is a gym rat. He is a gym rat. And, physical talent and all that stuff's great, but he is a gym rat on top of everything else. So good for him, good for the program, good for his teammates, good for our community.
I'm Mr. West. I'm Jed West. Is that I said this in last week at McDowell County when he threw that long pass to Owen Sia for a touchdown. I turned to you and said, that's a mini Jonathan. He throws, he actions and everything. Jonathan is 6'4", and Jonathan is 6'4", and but Jed is about 6'2". But I mean, he walks, throws, his mannerisms, everything on the field. For what I remember of.
Yeah, and we've been really lucky here, since 03 when I was being around. It's lucky enough after Jonathan and you were able to have Tyler and now and West is kind of they're kind of that kind of guy with them. So it's kind of fun to see. But anyway, Chuck, we got to get you back. You seem like you are having some internet problems down there at the casino that you're guarding life and limb. And tell them, look, they make enough money off these folks that they need to get you better internet, or we'll have to pull a Flint on them. And they don't
Well,
want a Flint.
I had a Pisca fan call me and I wasn't going to answer. They're just going to sit there and let it ring. And when that Pisca fan hung up, I came back on. Folks, don't call me during the show. Please, come on now. We're new at this.
Okay, now let's talk a little. We're gonna do a little word association with you, and then I'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna say a name, and I want you to let me pull everything up here, Chuck. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this stuff to pop like I want to. Okay. In 10 words or less. Okay. Or be close. East Henderson.
Struggling.
Franklin.
Unknown.
Yeah, and I think they're going to get better, and I've said that repeatedly because I know they will with those guys. Smoky Mountain.
Great coach, trying to find the trigger man.
North Henderson.
Great coach, maybe the dark horse or sleeper in the conference.
Pisgah. I'm not supposed to say that here.
Well, no, that's on Jonathan's show. We can say Pisgah on this show. This is
our
show.
I'm sorry. All right, Pisgah.
David Chuck.
Yeah.
The principal can't send me to ISS or whatever it is, for saying Pisgah on the Dave and Chuck show.
All right, Pisgah.
Brett Chapel, DNA, Hard Nose, Milltown Boys. Same every year. You're going to get that kind of effort.
West Henderson.
Powerful.
Tuscola.
The Rising Star.
No, come on, don't say that because it's here. I mean,
Why every time do I tell you, and you get all bent out of shape? You are not Jonathan's dad on this show.
I know. I can't stand it.
Rising Star.
I still think that North Henderson. Now, this is as we're starting week 4. I think that North Henderson and Tuscola are still the unknowns.
Let me add this. I want you to listen to me because you get all wiggly in your chair when you talk good about Tuscola. Tuscola needs to be needs that honest conversation that they are the rising star. Here's why. See, Brett Chapel came in 11 years ago. He's in his 11th year. His first couple years, it took him about 2 years to put his DNA, his stamp on that program. So in the last 9 years, the verbiage is not changed, the direction that it's not changed. They work hard through the offseason. They know what their coach expects. Everything, just put the uniform on and get better. And that is what makes Pisgah Pisgah. There hasn't been this, changing of coaches and guards and different philosophies coming in. Jonathan's moving in that direction. But when you have a quarterback that is the number 1 rated in North Carolina, dual threat quarterback, and you've got weapons on the outside, weapons in the backfield, a great offensive line, they're going to get better on defense. But it's like the Baltimore Orioles. If you score on them, they're going to score on you. You're going to have to score a lot of points to beat them. So they're the rising star. And star may be that they're the rising star up with West Henderson, Pisgah, maybe even North Henderson. But right now, I believe they're the rising star with West Henderson and Pisgah.
Okay. I'm going to continue with this. and I'm throwing it now. I'm throwing in. This is still in our Western North Carolina friends, and if it's something that you don't know, then just say, I don't know. Okay.
All right.
TC Robertson.
A lot of athletes. Haven't seen them really finish by scores. So this is a above average team in the old MAC conference.
Inca.
Love the coach.
Absolutely.
But they're rebuilding, and they're on a long-term rebuilding.
Asheville.
Overrated.
AC Reynolds.
One of the best coaches in Western North Carolina, if not in the state, and Coach Laws. They'll play any team anywhere. They'll go out in the parking lot and play, line it up, put an acre of land out there, and they'll chalk it off, and they'll play you there. That tells me a lot about Reynolds. They'll play you anywhere.
Swain.
Swain's got tradition. They got a good coach and Coach Holt. They're like Pisgah in that even though they've had a change in coaching recently, is that those kids have had 20 years, 25 years to just the same old stuff that you get the same hard-nosed football. They'll line up in the veer and they'll bust your nut. But I tell you, they'll come at you.
Robbinsville.
All I can think when you tell me Robbinsville is 49 penalties when Pisgah played them several years ago when David Presley was coach. Unbelievable. It's a home field. That's what I'll say. Home field advantage.
Well,
don't want to get myself in trouble with that.
Well, they can't try to sue you and take your job now. So
there you go.
Yeah, that was some stuff. There's a story there that folks, and we'll talk about that one day, but not today. But we will talk about that because the reality of the situation is, you and I have a relationship that if we think the other one is wrong, we're going to tell them. We're not going to call you. I'm not going to say, but I'll say, Chuck, you might want to rethink that, and you'll say, David, you're wrong. You were 100% right, and I'll give you that, and that's all I'll say about that. Western North Carolina high school football.
Peaks and valleys. I think we're coming out of the valley. It's been a long time since we've had the teams in the mid to upper, 2003 through 2010, 11, and then we've had trouble getting, teams winning or getting to the state championship. Except for 1A, there's been a dominance of 1A, and then your 2A, 3A, and 4A are in peaks and valleys. And I think we're coming out of the valley in Western North Carolina.
And
sorry, that's more than 10 words.
No, that's good with that. But my thing, let me ask you this. Let's talk about this for a minute. And that'll go back to what we're Haywood County. That'll go back to both these programs, I think what I'm talking about. When from 2A to 4A, and now we're fixing to have like 6 or 7A. They're going to really break this thing down and go from 1A to like 6A, or is it 7A? But anyway, the 1A situation is these teams are mostly rural, correct?
Correct.
In the state. But when you come off this mountain and we're playing teams from Charlotte, we're playing teams from down where you're at. We're playing teams from Greensboro. They're playing teams from Raleigh. You're playing teams from Wilmington. The big difference is speed, not football knowledge, not all this other stuff. A lot of these teams have 1 or 2 kids that can freaking run. Because I go back to the year we moved here in 03. The 03 team was was learning everything under Travis. The only person on that team who understood what Travis wanted all day was Jonathan, because he'd been with him since he was in the 5th grade. The 04 team was one player away. I believe that till the day I die. We didn't have the one person that could just go foo. And that's the only when I asked that question, I ask it because do you think it's the speed? Because I've always thought it's just the speed when we get off the mountain and we're playing the bigger cities.
Donnie Kiefer and I had this conversation when he was the head coach at Tuscola, and we were talking because I spent some time in the Down East. It's called Down East, and the speed is electric down east, and the academics is not. Okay, but the speed down there is electric, and we were talking about all the speed, and I told him, I said, but if you go punch them in the mouth, for lack of a better analogy or description, is that they fold. They use that speed to their advantage until you pop them. Then you can make it an even game if you continue to. But they have athletes that in all different places down east that they can go at different. They just play at different levels with that speed. And that's so just to show you, when Montario Hardesty was a running back at Tennessee, and he made a move on Halloween night where they wore those black uniforms. And the first,
you talking about this right here?
Yeah, that black uniform up
there.
He made a spinning move, and he disappeared into the night.
Yep.
And he ended up scoring. And the first, it wasn't seconds. And I get Donnie Kiefer text. I'm up in the press box, and it's a Donnie Kiefer text. He says, that's a down east move. That was made at the D level against South Carolina, and South Carolina guy still hasn't touched Montario. He was locked in, and Montario just spun out.
Yeah.
So, but that's just down east never loses its speed. It can lose. It can lose numbers. Numbers can shrink. Strength and maybe powerful linemen, but they'll always have speed. Once you come off this mountain, and the closer you get to the down east area, east of 95 is electric.
Now, before we move on to other things, we're going to talk a little college football. I always wait till you give me we talked during the week, and have you changed your thoughts on the game at CE Weatherby tomorrow?
Well, that's what I asked about the rain. That is a factor.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you, what I believe is that Swain will line up in the veer, tight veer, wing, double tight, whatever, and they will pound at Tuscola's defense. If Tuscola can steal a possession or two, fumble.
I'm listening. I'm just pulling up the weather.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Turnover on downs, some penalty, whatever the case may be, or turnovers, fumble or interception. If you can steal that, Jonathan will take that to his advantage. I've looked at the records. I've looked at Swain. They haven't seen this passing game. They haven't seen this type of passing game, especially this year.
All right, so you have to move.
So when you're not used to defending it, you're gonna make mistakes, and you don't want to make mistakes on the defensive side in coverage or assignments, because the man over there with the headset for Tuscola is sitting there watching. He'll run something to see how you do it. You may end up, they may end up getting no gain, but he's watching how you play it and then how he's going to attack it. And so if the weather is favorable and stays away from a wet field, I think that Tuscola will win by 2 or 3 touchdowns, and it'll be the passing game. But if that weather is not favorable, they're going to be in a dogfight with a very good football team who is well coached.
Yep. Okay. And that's why we talk about it on Saturdays a little bit, and then on Tuesday nights. I always ask, and then on Thursday, you've had time to do a little more checking and research because, uh, you know, when it comes to the other games, I do my due diligence, but when it comes to the Mountaineer games, I just bend over and try to keep from throwing up. That's kind of my mo with this thing. But
Laying up on a fetal position, sucking your thumb and everything.
oh my goodness!
Oh God, I can't
So,
do this. Do this.
uh, college
Trust
football, man.
your son.
Say that again.
Trust your son.
That's not the. It's I don't. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So
Move on.
before we get into the nuts and bolts of the college football, real quick, I do want to tell you that the Jonathan Crompton Show featuring Tuscola football and the episodes of the David and Chuck Show are brought to you by us at Crompton's Auto Mart, CromptonAuto.com, 1256 Delwood Road here in Waynesville, North Carolina, 828-456-2251. Man, Chuck, you should see our inventory today. We're going to have another 10 or 15 tomorrow, but we added 10 or 15 more today. I mean, we got Jeeps, we got trucks, we got convertibles, we got sedans, we've got SUVs, really cool stuff. It's all really just good quality vehicles. And I don't care about your credit. I'll get you a loan. So if you want to go to a buy here, pay here and give them your money and not build your credit, that's fine. But come here and let me help you build you in our program to get your credit from whatever it is and get it up where you can never have to ask anybody for anything again. And also Orchard Coffee at 39 Depot Street in Waynesville, 828-246-9264. These are fantastic folks. And I've had a long 48 hours. And listen, I've never really been a coffee drinker because this is different level stuff. They roast it in house, Chuck. They take pride in what they do, and there's some good stuff. And so visit them, come visit us, and I'll have some more sponsor news Saturday morning as I've got people who are wanting to come and be a part of what we're doing. So we're tickled with that. Now, college football.
This shirt right here was made by my brother, Kick Around Sports. So he does programs. I'm trying to get my brother just to be a sponsor.
Oh, yeah, because you don't have to be here because we go everywhere.
Right.
But anyway, college football. And Kevin does a great job. I've got 4 or 5 shirts in my closet with Kevin from Kick Around.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I sent in our group text yesterday, I sent out the text where, look, when Brian Kelly got the job, I spent 3 weeks in our group text last year just telling them this guy is not an SEC guy. He needs to stay where he is at Notre Dame. He'll never be able to recruit. He can't go in the living rooms with Lane, and he can't go in the living rooms with Nick, and he can't go in the living room with any of these guys in the SEC because they're going to beat his teeth in. And he can't coach it down here in the SEC. Well, he proved me wrong last year. He can coach, and it looks like he's going to be able to recruit. So they laid an egg against Florida State. Okay, and I guess in Florida State's probably better than we all thought. But as God is my witness, I sent that thing to our group text that it wasn't some guy in his 400-pound guy in his basement. There are actually people near that program that want him fired. After 1 week, after what he did last year.
Right.
I sent that and I said, can you believe this? Can you believe? I mean, people are, I can't say what I want to say because I don't want to offend people. But God, people are, that's stupid.
Wasn't a well thought out shot, at Coach Kelly. You usually want something where if they say it, it's backed by facts. Look, this is a problem. I know it's hard to do it's hard to be a college football coach. It's even harder to be a college head football coach. But the shot wasn't well thought out, was it?
No, but the thing that bothers me is that there are actually, for real, people close to that program that were going, well, we need him gone. Well, who the hell do you want?
Right.
Who do you want? You had Nick, and he bailed on you. And you had Coach O, but that was kind of a self-inflicted wound by Coach O. So he 2019, yes, and then we can't.
Coach O shot himself in the foot.
Yeah, that was a self-inflicted wound by Coach O. But again, seriously, what it's one game, the first game of the year, and again, we were laughing about Florida State, but we might not. The last laugh might be with them.
Right,
they're a good football team. At least they were the other night. And if LSU was rated the fifth best team in the country coming in, and was actually indeed one of the top 10 teams in the country, Florida State will be reckoned with. But I guess what I keep talking about is just that. How can you make a statement like that? How can people inside the program think that?
Okay. I don't know if anybody thinks that inside the program, but the social media, the psychology of social media is it's even the high school level. You can go on certain websites and see some crazy, some crazy posts. But here's my point. The people that write those posts, again, I'll use the word, are not well thought out. The post is not well thought out, but they don't speak for the masses. And people are generally really good people that just look. I mean, I'm not going to say anything to them, to the guy or this girl who has a comment that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this post so where everybody else comes over and jumps on their side and their bandwagon. Typically, those people are just a handful, and they're just ignored. But they have that right to go out there if they join a website, and if they don't cross over the line, it's they voice their opinion. And I've learned you just move on, because when nobody's hitting and clicking on it, you just move on. The worst thing is something that is so blatantly, and I'll use the word stupid, on Coach Kelly. And it's by the media. And they pick up a social media post. Shame on them. That's lazy journalism.
Yep.
And so when you put it out there, it's like, well, all LSU thinks that. All LSU doesn't think that.
No, and I know that.
Right. But we got our own lovable Swami, Lloyd Van Horn, who is a diehard LSU. And he's just like, look, we're going to have
just a little bit.
But, we got to get better. We lost that game. We may lose more. But Coach Kelly's a good coach. But most of the fans, if not the vast majority, don't think like that. But the mission for the people writing stupid stuff on social media is to draw you in on their side.
Yeah,
and it never works. It never works.
It's just a shame, because, again, we do this. Social media is what we're doing right now. But early when it started, my family and my wife and I and our young, at that point, middle school son, learned a lot about it very early, about these message boards.
Right.
So you take that stuff with a grain of salt, but it has changed, like you said. It's just like people, that talk certain things. People don't read articles anymore. People don't go do research and do their due diligence. They just see a headline and click and go, oh, that must be true.
Right.
So, so again, I just thought that was horrendous because it wasn't on a post that it was there. It was literally on the first page when you open and turn your computer on. The very first thing you saw when it's talking about this thing in politics, this thing here, and then the next thing it said LSU, blah blah blah, whatever I sent, and it's not hidden down here from some dude in the basement. They've got this stuff on the top, and I'm going, what the heck? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of vent my frustration with that. Surprise team, week 1, college football. Surprise team.
Duke.
I might say Duke, but but I think Duke's going to be good. I thought Duke was going to be good. I'm going to say Colorado.
Yeah. But we've learned that there was a lack of effort and a focus out of TCU. They just didn't care to play in the game. And we're now, here's a team that went on a long stretch in 2022 and made it to the national championship, got boat race, and has never recovered since, obviously, because they have a lot of changes, and their captain has come out and just literally put it all on the table. So I want to see. I agree with you. Surprise team, what they did and how they did it totally shocked me. I was stunned, but I want to see them play at home, a jacked up environment against Nebraska, coached by Rule, who was Temple, Baylor, turned around programs, and then went to the Carolina in the NFL and has come back. I watched that game against Minnesota last week, and it was just, they controlled Minnesota until the last second of the game, or a minute of the game, when they threw a pick.
Yeah.
Trying to throw, and it was a bad decision out of the quarterback, and then Minnesota kicks a field goal to win it.
Well, we knew Coach Rule when he shared an office with 3 other guys as an assistant at Western Carolina.
Absolutely.
And so he's come a long way. And hey, let me ask you real quick. We have not spoken about this. Western.
Right.
The Catamounts.
Yes.
Thoughts?
I love the coach. He's got him in the right direction, but when you have decades of, it's just been atrocious, it's going to take time. But you got people, very smart people, that are trying to get this, this bull's horns turned around. And again, they got good talent, but they went down to Arkansas and got thumped, and now they're back and they'll play Sanford at home Saturday. So, I just think, look, somebody's going to turn that program around. And when they do, it's going to light up the fan base.
Yeah, because
changes to Whitmire, so they're going to make some improvements. And we just saw the other day where they got Catamount buses. So if you see that Catamount bus going from, to and from or something like that on the highway, it's the Catamount football team.
Yeah.
It's all decked out and everything. So they're trying, but to do that, it takes money.
Yep. And that's what it's all about. It's always been dollars and cents. It's always been dollars and cents. And I think, how do I say this nicely, Chuck, without, well, you know what? It's a fact. The thing that's always frustrated me is the biggest source of information, the biggest news source in Western North Carolina is the Asheville Citizen-Times. In the time that we spent in Cullowhee with the football program, how many times did we see anybody from the Citizen-Times there?
Oh, wasn't a lot. And it wasn't a lot on road games. When we went down to Georgia, we were in
there was none. Post-game press conferences. Who were the only people in post-game press conferences?
Me and you.
And their radio guy.
Right, radio, and then their sports information people.
Yes.
felt a little embarrassing at times.
Yes,
You look for other people. They had a couple times that they had people there. I mean, but they're that's not their beat. They've made that decision that Western Carolina is not their beat.
well, I think that's the wrong decision.
I understand.
So, but anyway, pulling for the Catamounts.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Jarrett.
Say that again. You cut out.
Let me say this. I'm a fan of Keith Jarrett.
Yeah, I loved Keith, but Keith was limited as to what he could do. They told him what he could do.
And
it's the Citizen Times.
Keith Jarrett was one of the best I've ever seen at his profession, at his craft.
Yes.
He'd say what and he'd back it up. He'd have stuff to back it up. Some people didn't like it. Well, show him where he's wrong. If not, keep it zip, move on. Yeah. That's his job.
But to me, it's just frustrating that, when you read the paper right now, not a lot of things in there about the Catamounts, absolutely nothing in there about Mars Hill, which is, again, frustrating for me, especially Mike Matthews and myself, because that's a special program with a special school with a coaching staff that, to me, is second to none. Second to none. They're great people. But I'm going to get off my little soapbox and get back to what we were talking about. So,
Duke and Colorado were surprised. Yep. Do you have any others?
It was the thing with Colorado and Duke just kind of overshadows everybody after week one. But I'm not as surprised with Duke. And I'm not throwing off on Clemson. I was upset that they were talking about, all they said was Clemson lost and nobody was giving Duke any credit. And that kind of bothers you because those kids worked their butts off too. But maybe on the curve, everything's circular. And maybe Clemson is not going to be at 12 o'clock right now. Maybe they're at 11. Maybe they're headed towards 10, kind of sliding just a little. And when they slide, when the Alabamas slide, when the Clemson slide, when the Georgias slide, when Tennessee slid, it's a big deal. And it causes a lot of things to happen.
Right.
I mean, a lot of things to happen because these programs, folks, whether you understand it or not, it's bigger than just a football game you see on Saturday. These are multi-million-dollar enterprises.
Right. Well, you have an above-average quarterback at Clemson. The fans do. And the problem that you got to go back and look at is you can say turnovers. You can say missed field goals. You can all those snafus. But I'm going to tell you where I felt Clemson lost the football game. Dropped passes. I think there were 6 drop passes in that football game on drives that they were moving, and they were drive killers. Drop passes slowed the momentum of Clemson. They could never get into rhythm. They kept saying they could not get into rhythm, and I'm yelling at the screen going, because they're dropping passes. But they wouldn't explain what is preventing them from getting in rhythm. And drop passes was the thing. They've got all these, stellar elite athletes who can't catch. Half of those drops weren't even contested passes, and they dropped them. When they are contested, they get their hand. They have problems. So, add on to the penalties. Look, Dabo's a good coach. He's been there, done that before. So
look, you don't do what Dabo's done, and you don't forget it overnight. Right. You don't forget it overnight. So,
but if you want offense and rhythm, you cannot have that many drop passes. You can't have any drop passes. So that to me was the big eyesore, was that they dropped passes.
Upset special week 2.
Well, I know the 23rd ranked Division III Elma College Scots will win on the road. There's no upset there. I heard people say that, Jonathan surprised me that Texas would beat Bama. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't see that happening.
But I'm going to tell you who I think will lose, and it'll be late at night, and it'll be Wisconsin going out to Washington State. 10:30 start. 10:30 start. And I think Washington State has enough. Wisconsin's trying to throw the football, change their identity, but they got two stellar running backs. And so I think if it's a shootout, I think Washington State will upset Wisconsin.
Okay. And I think that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Baseball. We cannot leave here. We cannot.
Baseball, David?
Yes, sir.
One thing.
Yes, sir.
November 14th, 1970, a plane crashed in Huntington, West Virginia, carrying the Marshall football team.
Yeah.
And I asked you guys, I said, but my question is, what game were they flying back home to Huntington, West Virginia? And it was from East Carolina University. Tomorrow, 4:00, Marshall is at ECU. And so I'm big on dates and everything. And so I think they'll really do something special on that game. I might tune in to see that if they're, they'll talk about the Marshall team that that plane crash. But they were coming back from ECU. And this, I believe, is the first time since the plane crash that they played in ECU.
Is it on ESPN?
That game is on ESPNU.
You'll have to tell me about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Disney.
I mean, I don't have those stations any longer because, they got kicked off of Spectrum, So that's another story. So Major League Baseball.
All right.
My goodness, my gosh, how in the world did our futures bet team, the Baltimore Orioles, that we just wanted them to be above 500 and get a chance to make the last wild card spot? They are only, Chuck, my calculations right now, they are only a game and a half behind Atlanta for the best record in Major League Baseball.
Right.
What in the world? And again, I grew up an Orioles fan, but man, did any of us see this coming, my friend?
No, not this good. But Baltimore has the best record in American League. Atlanta is now on a 2-game losing streak at home to St. Louis. There is 2 games separating them in the win column. And Baltimore just has been doing it all year, just steady as they go, playing at over a 600 clip, right now 633, which projects out to 102, 103 games. Well, we were talking 88 to 92 would be really happy for us to just get into the postseason. And they have not played bad baseball all season long.
Yeah. And, it goes back to what we talked about before the show. Baseball season's 162. It is a marathon. It is really not a sprint. But because of our situation, and we laugh about the money and all the stuff is that we've watched it every single day, every single game. We picked Atlanta and we picked Baltimore, and the Atlanta thing, we just, they're going to be there, and we're not that worried about it. But with Baltimore, like if they'd lose a game, I'd send in a text, "Oh my God, it's over! It's over! It's gloom and doom! My God, why did we do that?" And they have avoided we talked about before the show, the long losing streak. I think the longest streak they've had this year is maybe 4 games. Maybe.
I don't remember a 4-game. I do remember a 3-game.
Yeah,
I think it was 2 or 3. Yeah, 3 games. But I don't remember 4.
Yeah, and they have just they haven't overwhelmed people. They've won a ton of 1-run games, and those kids or seem oblivious to the pressure. And they went out when they rebuilt, and they did it the right way. They said, we're not going to get free agents. We were going to find the best baseball players we can find, and we're going to teach them to do it our way every day. And they use analytics, but they are not ruled by analytics.
Right.
And that goes back to what the thing we talked about with the Yankees this week. The Yankees are in last place in the AL East, and their owner has said that's enough. Oh, I'm with you, but their owner has said, look, after this season, we're going to have a chit chat, and we're going to talk about the analytics and the metrics and all these things. They have their place, but I want to have a baseball team. I want baseball people in my rooms.
Totally agree. I'm old school. Analytics tell you what has happened. It can't predict. You cannot predict from analytics. That's the argument I always say. Great, your analytics tells me what happened, but you don't win games and play games based on what happened. You play games on the prediction, or I think this guy's he's been on this pitcher. I'm gonna put him as a pitch hitter. He doesn't look at analytics. There's no evidence to say it's a great and it's the absolute prediction of what's going to happen. It tells you just what transpired. Well, my eyes can see that. Watching
Yes.
as much as we do, my eyes can watch a guy struggling.
And
what his war is.
They have their play. It has its place. But you go back in recent history, you go back to the 2020 World Series. The Dodgers won the series, but who was the best team in baseball? Because they gave it away, because of analytics. The Tampa Bay Rays pulled their pitcher, Snell. I think he was throwing a 1 or 2 hitter and had thrown less than 100 pitches. He's not going to pitch anymore that season, so why the heck are you going to pull him to rest him for? And they pulled him in the middle of the 7th inning when he's throwing a 1 or 2 hitter, less than 100 pitches, and they pulled him because the guy before the game, the analytics guy, told the manager, this is what you're going to when we're in this situation, and he reaches this number.
Right.
So it cost them.
That's the very point we're talking about.
Yes.
Podium based on what has happened. He's basing it, this is going to happen, and it didn't happen that way. It can't predict. That's why you need crafty old managers who have a feel and a temperament for their team.
Snedeker in Atlanta.
Huh?
The guy in Atlanta. That's who you want.
But when Tampa pulled him, I think we blew up the internet. We were going nuts before the first relief pitcher threw a ball.
Yep, because here's the thing. Not only did they lose the game and the world championship, but that guy, the Snell, went to the dugout, was just livid. They lost the world championship. He went down in the clubhouse, dressed, went home, called his agent, and said, I'm a free agent. Don't even talk to these people. I'm out of here. And so they lost the world championship, and then they lost their Cy Young pitcher, who said, I'm done, and he went to San Diego, which that's another mess. But he got the heck out of there, and I believe that a lot of that was because of what happened in that game. I mean, you work all your life as a kid, and all your life, I want to be in that situation. And some guy that's never played the freaking game is sitting in front of a computer in a room underneath the stadium is dictating your future.
Recall the beginning of the baseball season. We were discussing Tampa Bay's incredible start. Remember now, they were 13-0 and
Yes. Go ahead. I'm listening. Chuck, go ahead. You there? I think Chuck's lost his audio. Let me see if I can. You there, Chuck? Well, Chuck has lost his audio, and we just lost Chuck for a second. But anyway,
Another Pisca fan. Yeah.
okay. So
Oh, can't
anyway,
call me. Oh, no. Okay.
so anyway,
We were talking, they had that 13 incredible start and 22-2. And we were talking Ken Baltimore. And I said to you, the same manager, the same analytical people, the same front office is still there at Tampa Bay. They'll screw this up, guarantee you this, because they're going to base it on analytics the rest of the season. They came out and just played. And then on top of that, they've had pitching woes. A lot of pitchers going off, having Tommy John. McClanahan has had his time, going for a second Tommy John. But, and it happened. That's a gut feel for a baseball. I wasn't looking at anything analytical. The sabermetrics, I was looking at the feel and look, if you're going to do that and run a team that way, you're going to do it this year and you're going to screw this thing up.
Yeah. You're right.
So anyhow,
yeah. So
I don't care for analytics and people, the geeks in baseball. I don't care for them.
But it has its place, but it should not rule everything that is done. And if you want a prime example, watch the Braves, watch the Orioles, and look, they're 6 games out and they've had a tough season. But watch the Cleveland Guardians with the best manager in baseball. And I know that we argue about that, but I think Francona is just that good. But anyway, let's do this, Chucky. Let's get ready to get out of here. It's 8:31. I got to go out here and keep cooking all night long. Think about me when y'all are going to sleep, because my butt's still going to be down here all night long. Getting ready for tomorrow. You know what Chuck said the other day, and I guess I need to make sure I repeat that. Get there, get to see E. Weatherby, get there early, fill the stadium up. These kids, I cannot tell you how hard they're working. They are just getting after it. They're in all their life, they've been taught English, and now they're having to learn French, and they have caught on and worked at it, and be really proud of them. Just be really proud of these kids, because this is just a different world for them, and they could have bucked up. You could have bucked up and said, "Hey, this is kind of not my thing," and they certainly haven't. They most certainly haven't. So, Chuck, I know that, again, before we get out of here, Jed, that's pretty special.
Well, it is special, and if I'm a teammate of his, I'm getting ready, because it's showtime for me. Because who's watching him is watching me. If I make plays and stand out, then I'm going to have college coaches watch me. Don't know what level, but you got players to play. And we have talked about this for the longest time. A lot of people in the mountains get ignored, but we've had a number of people go off to college and stayed instead of coming home. And so that stigma of, if you recruit them, they're not going to stay, is gone. So now they want to find talent everywhere. And it's wide open, folks, with the transfer portal. So, roll with it. Get your opportunity to go play at the next Elma College. Anybody wants to talk to me at Elma College, get my phone number from David. And if you want your son to play at a Division III school, it is the most magnificent experience I've ever had. It's a great program right now on the Division III level. And you talk about playing for the game. And I play 2 sports on the collegiate level. So I love Division III football, and always talk about it. But there's always opportunities, guys. If you really want to play at the next level, there's always an opportunity somewhere.
That's it. So I don't know for sure. Chuck and I will have a conversation sometime tomorrow, and maybe from my little phone and his little phone, we might be able to have a little pregame tomorrow if we can get everything kind of put together and just have about a 20 minute pregame tomorrow. And Chuck and I will see if we can pull that off tomorrow.
What
And,
time are you gonna, what time is that? Let's do
the
it.
kickoff is at 7:30, and we'd probably be on from like 7 to 7:15 or so, just to kind of do a little pregame if we can, if the internet's good enough, if we both are in a position to do it.
I'm gonna be with my friend Deuce tomorrow. My basketball.
Deuce, what's up?
Deuce is a bad dude now.
Tell
Bobby,
Deuce, here, before we get off, tell Deuce to come over here. Tell Deuce to walk over here. Deuce,
What's going on?
you look, man, I'm coming to get you, man. I'm coming to get you.
Oh man.
Oh, listen, is Chuck
that's my
protecting you?
basketball.
Is
Well,
Chuck
right now-
protecting life and limb?
Oh yeah. It's a good guy right here.
We got it, brother. We got it.
Oh
And
yeah.
listen, we're just messing with you. I'm not going to come get you. I'm going to come down there and buy you a Coke.
Hey, that'll be all right there.
But anyway, we're going to get out of here. And Chuck, we'll talk tomorrow and see if we can, if at all possible, we can kind of get that done. Any final words, any final thoughts before we get out of here from you?
Well, this is to the Tuscola fan base. Don't miss this thing. It's already started in 3 games deep. If you haven't been there, it's not perfect. But if it gets to where we think it's going to go, might be this year, might be next year, you don't want to come in late and say, well, I missed this, the starting of this new era. So get to the game. Just check it out. I think you'll have fun. Be loud and proud. I think that, and besides that, after this one, it's a bye week and then it's conference play.
And then it's conference. And by the way, tomorrow's a home game, and we get to see the best band ever. I love our band. I am a big fan of the band. Cheerleaders are going to be there. They're going to be getting after it. And then, next week, Chuck, I'm going to try to get, not on our show, I'm going to try to get some coaches for some other sports so we can talk about some other things over there and get them on kind of early and have 15, 20 minutes with them before we start talking about the crazy stuff that we do and see if we can talk about, the track and field, or we can talk about cross country, or we can talk about soccer, or we can talk about all this other stuff that's going on and kind of let people know that on our show, we're going to talk football and we're going to do all that stuff, but we're going to promote the heck out of the program too.
That'd be a good spot for the athletic director at Tuscola.
We might have to tackle him just because we want to.
Yeah. But we'll be nice to him because his daddy cuts a lot of people's hair. And
Okay.
He does a great job. If I get up
Yeah.
there and get a haircut, I'm going to Scotty Chambers now.
That's it, brother. Chucky, I'll see you tomorrow. Y'all, everyone have a great night. Please be safe. Be aware of the weather. See everybody tomorrow. Dress appropriately. We're going to have a little bit of rain. And let's fill up the CE Weatherby and support your local teams, but, out in your communities. We'll see everybody tomorrow. God bless you. Thank you, Chucky. You were great as always.
Thank you.